Hi, everybody. So this is the August Open edX remote meetup. As you can probably tell from the fact that you've never been invited to one of these before, this is our first. And so today, our guest presenter is going to be one of our product managers, Marco Morales. And I'm also just going to go over some basics about how we imagine these remote meetups running, just to sort of introduce their structure. All of this is flexible. We're just getting used to things, so please give us your feedback if things aren't working for you, if you especially liked things, if you have ideas and suggestions. So first things first, we have a new, slightly different open source team, not entirely new.
Can I leave for a second?
Yes.
Could you actively select yourself as the presenter on the Hangout on Air so that it doesn't
switching? Jump? I don't know why it jumps to me, but
sure. What am I doing?
You just select yourself here.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the little arrow thing, present to everyone, sorry, up here.
Mm.
Okay, cool. Okay, now I think we should be good.
Okay.
Go back to the slides, I think, there.
Great. So some of you may already know Ned. It's this person over here. Ned's in the room with me, so Ned can say hi.
Hi.
Then there's me. I'm Shona. I started about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And then there's also George. George is not in the room here with us. George works remotely from Portland. I don't remember if George has successfully joined the Hangout on Air.
Seems not to be.
He seems not to be, but we're going to try to get him online so he can say hello to you in his very own voice. But if not, he's George Song on Slack, so you can say hello to him there. Great, so that's us. So about remote meetups, they're going to run once a month, and their default time will be on the 4th Thursday of the month. But we might move any individual meetup if it happens to be a terrible time for us. We're going to alternate these between 10 to 11 a.m. and 2 to 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time, aka UTC -4 currently. So hopefully that gets most, if not all, people having at least every other month they're able to attend. The basic structure is going to be a couple of short sections and then a featured topic. And the featured sections we're going to be doing, at least until we come up with better ideas, is a community update section where the open source team gives you some updates on what we've been working on, a roadmap update, which is a sort of much abridged version of what you're going to get today, and then also community spotlight, which is a chance for people from the Open edX community to talk about what they're doing with Open edX, whether that's tools they're developing for it, what courses you're running, etc. So if you're interested in having your organization be part of the community spotlight, just contact me and we'll pick a couple of people or a couple of organizations for each meetup. Then we're going to have a featured topic. Today that's Marco Morales presenting on the Open edX product roadmap. And next month we're going to be talking about the contribution process. You're welcome to suggest topics. You can do this by emailing the general mailing list or emailing oscm@edx.org directly, which, if you didn't know, is an email address that reaches the whole open source team. So me, Ned, George, and Joel, who is currently on vacation and hopefully having a great time. Cool. So we're going to do the community update feature today. We're going to skip roadmap update because that's our feature presentation. We're going to skip community spotlight because we don't have any people yet for that. So on to the community update section. So we're in the process of getting a new support channel. If you've been following along on the edX code mailing list, you'll have seen a bit of discussion about it. We haven't gone ahead and signed any contracts, but we're leaning very strongly towards Answer Hub and are going through the process of getting things approved and getting that started up. And it's my hope that we'll have that ready to for people to use it within a few weeks, although who knows exactly how long it'll take.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of enthusiasm from the community. We're really hopeful that having this place for people to ask questions will both make it easier for people to find the answers to their questions, as well as take some of the burden off of the people who've been answering the most questions so they can do more proactive things to help the community. We're also excited to work with the docs team to identify common questions and make our documentation better by seeing where people are having trouble. So that's Answer Hub. Ned,
Hey, Eucalyptus. Yeah, Eucalyptus I think is going out today. I actually built the file, the full stack boxes, finished building just about half an hour ago. There's no reason it can't go out. One release candidate 2 for Eucalyptus 1 has been out for a couple of days, and I got some feedback from testers that it installed fine and it worked. So today should be Eucalyptus. Worst case tomorrow morning, but it's coming very, very soon. It's going to be called Eucalyptus.1.
Let's hope for the best. Great, thanks, Ed.
Sure.
For the record, folks should feel free to, we have the Slack channel pulled up so we can see it. So if you have any questions for us about Answer Hub or about Eucalyptus, feel free to add us. And if we've moved on by the time we see it, we'll make sure to circle around and respond again.
Let's pause for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
This is a whole new format, and we're trying.
Yeah, we're still figuring things
out. Just to say one more thing about Answer Hub. So I said I was really looking forward to it, and then Shauna said that it will help take the pressure off of people who've been answering questions. That's not exactly why I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it because it'll be a more structured place in which to answer questions, and it'll be easier for me to see which questions have been answered and which have not. So I'm hoping that it will keep me from being anxious that there are questions that aren't being answered, but it's hard to go and find them. So it'll be a little bit more disciplined a way to get questions answered.
Yeah, we'll also have the ability to sort the unanswered questions by the number of upvotes or stars or things, so we can see what's most. Yeah. So.
Nate, yes, today is going to be the real Eucalyptus release. So the numbering of releases is a little different now in Eucalyptus and going forward than it has been in the past. When we released Dogwood, the official Dogwood release was called named-release/Dogwood. And then when we had some fixes to put out, we called it Dogwood.1, as if Dogwood meant 1.0 and Dogwood.1 was like 1.1. That was actually a little bit confusing that some releases had numbers and some didn't. So what we're doing for Eucalyptus is every official release will have a number. The first one will have the number 1, Eucalyptus.1, and then subsequent ones will be Eucalyptus.2, Eucalyptus.3, and so on.
Cool. Dave, there is going to be a link to the slide deck. If maybe Ned or Marco could, since I think you have access to the slide deck,
sure.
Find a link for it and put it into the Slack.
I'll do that once Marco starts talking.
Sounds good. So you'll have that in just a minute. And then via Answer Hub, yeah. So our hope is that currently both the general edX code mailing list and the ops mailing list have a lot of just requests for help. And those types of questions will be trying to redirect towards Answer Hub. And once we have it up, and we'll say this on the mailing list, folks from the community should feel free to respond to emails to redirect people. And it'll take a little while for people to get used to the new system.
Right. So Zachary, if you mean, are we going to take existing questions and answers that are already in the Google group and put them into Answer Hub? We haven't discussed doing that. I'm not sure it's worth it. I think if questions keep getting asked and they get asked in Answer Hub, we can find answers in the group and put them there, but I wouldn't go and get old questions. One thing to note is that one of the advantages of Answer Hub is that it has a badging system very similar to Stack Overflow, which hopefully will encourage people to be active there. And if someone wants to innovate and find questions that with good answers and put them into Answer Hub, that would be a perfectly fine thing to do.
Yeah, we will still be using the Google groups, but it'll be for more general discussion and more higher level discussion. And it's specifically the sort of support type requests that we're going to be trying to move to Answer Hub.
Right.
I had not actually thought about typing up a notes or summary and sharing it, but I can definitely do so if there's interest in that.
So it's funny, I see nicks when I look on my screen, and I see full names when I look on that screen, so it's a little confusing. So when you say, will notes on this be posted, do you mean this remote meetup or this, what we're going to use Answer Hub for? Or both, or something? Cookie Dough asked that question.
We'll wait for you to give a follow-up reply. In the meantime, did you see the thing about insights? Did you answer the thing about insights?
I didn't answer the thing about insights. Insights is tagged in the Eucalyptus release, but it was also tagged in the Dogwood release. I'm frankly a little bit unclear about how supported insights is in Eucalyptus, but we have marked the repos so that we know that they worked together at a point in time, and they are marked in Eucalyptus.
Great, so give another 30 seconds in case there are additional questions about this, and if not, we'll move on to, oh, I have a little bit more. So I'll just go on with a little bit more, which is just to say, on our radar for the future is we're going to be working on clarifying the contribution process. Like I said, it's on our radar, so I can't give you much more detail than that. It's something we'd like to tackle over the next month. And just also as a heads up, a member of edX, Kel, who some of you may have interacted with or know, has been talking about doing a survey of Open edX contributors, and so we're probably going to be collaborating with him on that. And so we have things that we want to know about the community, but there may be additional things that you want to know about the community that you're a part of. So if you're interested in collaborating with us on that, giving your feedback about what kinds of questions would be good, etc., again, feel free to either post to the mailing list, to email us, or just to keep an eye out for further updates about that. Great. It looks like there aren't any more questions about this right now. If you have questions about this, you might need to ask us again once Marco's done, because I imagine it'll get lost on scrollback, so just like keep a note of it. But we can always talk about this stuff after Marco's done.
And if you haven't noticed, George posted the link to the slides there in the chat.
Excellent. Thanks, George. Great. So moving on to our featured topic. Did you want to just use my computer, Marco, or?
I can screen share and swap.
Should we have a theme song for the introduction of the featured topic?
Yeah, right.
Do I need to do a thing to? I can stop.
Yes.
Stop
your screen sharing.
Great.
As soon as I find my mouse, I will initiate screen sharing. Come on, thing. Google Hangouts is really struggling for me.
If it's a problem, I can just push my computer over to you.
Let's do that.
Or even click ahead on the
All right.
slides.
What was I doing before? Sent to everyone.
Possible me having Slack and YouTube and Hangouts
Right, yeah.
breaking things. Do you want to swap some? Do you want to respond on that? I guess that's my account on Slack. But.
All right. That won't be confusing to anyone.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm here to give a quick update on the roadmap. This is an update to slides that we shared during the Open edX conference. We had some sort of beyond Eucalyptus notes, so sort of updated that, confirmed that with other product groups to make sure that's still accurate. Along the way, as you ask questions, we can see it here on the Slack channel, so I'm happy to answer those. The current plan is to actually move reasonably quickly through the Eucalyptus summary, and then focus more time on what comes after Eucalyptus, so that we can answer questions on any of the new things that you may not have heard of at all. But again, just a quick recap, things that are in Eucalyptus from a platform and commerce standpoint. 3 new services, the course catalog, program service, and the credential service. The improvements to the account settings, multi-site theming support, coupon codes, and a responsive theme for discovery site. Go ahead, Ned.
Are there slides? Because I'm not seeing them.
I think this is just I can't get Marco's stuff working for me because I'm not a Mac user.
Aha. Okay, so could you? Where is the Hangouts view again?
It's in the Firefox. So.
Okay.
Oh,
there it is. So it says I'm presenting. So let me.
Does it default in Slack? Because I think we have Marco's computer projecting for us to see, and that might be.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's true.
What I'm seeing in Hangout is Marco's face.
Okay.
Present to everyone. And
oh, did we not? I didn't click screen share. All right. There
we go.
Sorry about that, folks.
And then
slides. Okay. So say it again now that we can see the words.
Great. So again, as a recap, platform and commerce changes in Eucalyptus. So 3 new main services: course catalog, the program service, and the credentials service. Credentials being sort of a generic term for certificates. It's largely used for certificates today. Improvements to the account settings, multi-site theming support, coupon codes, and a responsive theme for the discovery site. So what that means is that the current out-of-the-box template for all the course about pages, for the home page and whatnot, there's a second theme now in there that you can sort of opt to use. As an example, it's actually the theme that's currently in use by the Harvard X Plus site and the MIT X Professional Ed site. So they're just sort of examples of different themes you can drop in there. And in particular, if there are any terms that I don't define, please let me know, and we'll make sure to add that detail. So per learner insights is something that was rolled out incrementally, sort of slowly behind the scenes. We've now very recently turned it on to 100% of learners on edX.org, but it is there to be configured and be exposed in Eucalyptus. So at a high level, in Insights, you can now see all the students in a classroom, see a table that lets you sort of sort activity. You can actually find active learners that are in a specific track, so honor versus verified, for example. And the idea is that you can see specific information about that learner and then choose to email them or reach out. So it's really just a first version of Per Learner Insights. And so quick question about the credential service. So I can take a step back real quick and just sort of speak to that a little bit more. So the original launch of the OpenEdX platform had PDF certificates. We've moved away from PDF certificates to web certificates about 1.5 years ago. And so there's a Django app inside the edX platform repo that lets you configure web certificates for courses. The next kind of big jump forward is that consistent with sort of the shift in architecture and direction, there's a new separate service called Credentials. And that credential service is meant to more generically power learner outcomes, learner credentials. So the first thing we've moved to that new credential service, at edX.org at least, is programs, so X series in the case of edX.org, have credentials configured via this credential service. So there are future plans to migrate all of the web certificates for courses that we have in that Django app in edX platform over to this separate credential service. And the idea is that there's a lot more sort of abstraction in the credential service, so you could extend the credential service to have micro-credentials or other things kind of stored in that other service. So it's meant to be a little bit more generic for people that want to kind of build on that. But again, originally designed around certificates. So hopefully that helps answer any questions on the credential service. So next up on the Eucalyptus side of things, within teaching and learning. So a big kind of jump in terms of the course home navigation. It used to be the case that students landed on the Info tab, and they would go over to the Courseware tab as the second tab. So some renaming and sort of tab jump cleanup in the navigation. 3 major kind of big learning applications that we've added: bookmarks, teams, and student notes. Bookmarks allow learners to specify or tag a specific unit page as sort of saved for later, so they can view in a separate list. Teams is a way for small groups to have kind of closer discussions around a theme or a topic. And so course instructors can configure these teams, and sort of this first version is really just small group discussions, but we imagine a lot more things being built into the Teams application in the future. Student notes, if enabled for a course, this allows students to highlight text and turn that into a note that they can then see later, kind of associated with the parts of the course that they want, that it was originally captured from, a way for students to kind of sort of decide to keep their own information about content they're reading or their own observations. Video closed caption, so this is sort of an improvement to what we have had in the past, which is just the transcript. You can now actually specifically look at closed captions in the closed caption sort of styling and format, or it's overlaid on top of the video. There's now staff grading and open response assessment, so it means that you can add as a specific step staff graded essays. So we've already had self-assessment, we've had peer assessment, and so this lets staff members be a part of the flow. So you could choose to configure an open response problem to only be staff graded, or you can choose to have it be just an additional step in the grading policy. And there's also additional tools to let staff kind of individually override a student grade as well behind the scenes. The last big thing I'll mention, and then I'll go back to some of the questions that were on the Slack channel. So for the longest time, we've had full support for instructor-paced courses. So what we mean by that is there's a course start date, there's a course end date, and content is released kind of week by week, and you can set dates accordingly to get content to be released progressively as the semester advances. You can have assignment due dates, and over time what we've seen is that a lot more courses want self-paced courses, so they really put no assignment due dates or make those assignments due on the course end date, and they show you all the course content on the course start date. So in Studio you can now sort of toggle to self-paced mode, which in essence kind of overrides dates for you and hides parts of Studio where you would have set dates, so it's a lot clearer what kind of options you need to configure for a self-paced course. So those are the teaching and learning updates in Eucalyptus, and I'll briefly look back through this thing here. If this is the right format, great. If not, someone can adjust my behavior here. So Zach, your question about issuing credentials per section, that's in line with micro-credentials and some of the discussions we've had around badges. It hasn't been sort of a big priority or shift for us internally here. Some people in the OpenX community have experimented with micro-credentials. Our current next effort on the teaching and learning side, and we'll get to this in Ficus or what comes after Eucalyptus, but in context progress that lets you see your progress as you're going along is next. We have talked about kind of badges that are objective, so you completed X number of assignments, but it's not on the immediate term roadmap right now. PDF certificates, are they going away? Will they still be available for those to use them? So the new credential service did factor in kind of legacy PDF certificates, so there is a field that you can store on the credential services for the PDF download kind of URL, the S3 link. So even for people that migrate to using the credentials IDA, they could have credentials that still link to those kinds of assets. I don't know that we fully plumbed that through, but we haven't started the discussions on how to migrate the old course certificates over to that IDA, so I imagine that'll be a part of that conversation. Great, so back to Zach. Per Learner Insights, any laws that prohibit the display of personal identifying information on the Insights dashboard? So there are certainly those dashboards, for example, on Per Learner Insights, you have to be an author on that course as an instructor to see that dashboard. So certainly within the platform there are administrators that can go and see all of the students for debug and triage purposes, but largely speaking, it's per course right now. So there are a number of concerns on PII there, but we handle it right now by only showing it to instructors. Open response staff grading feature intended to be a replacement for the staff graded assignment X block. So
Peter's answering that. Peter and Nate are having a conversation.
Great. Okay, so I will allow that conversation to continue. And then, oh yeah, Zach linked to FERPA links. Kyle's computer went to sleep.
No, your computer went to sleep.
Oh, that makes more sense. Shauna, would you?
Oh, sorry. Great. Also, just FYI, this is the 2:31 timestamp in Slack. Just if anyone's watching this and is like, oh, I would like to know the answers to these things, the discussion in Slack is happening at 2:31 in the remote Meetup channel.
Great. Okay, so I will allow Peter and Nate's conversation to continue. Looks actually may have been resolved. So I'll go through to the next update. This is regards to mobile. So 3 things. So learner profiles on the mobile application are now have been added. The discussion forums, and specifically all the student interactions on the discussion forums. We've not added sort of a lot of the moderation or override tools and sorts that instructors may be used to. But the basics for what students need to do, voting, following, marking as answer, reporting, those are all built into the mobile discussion forums. We've also built in native course discovery for those of you that are using the mobile applications and excuse me, use the native Open edX course about views. All right, so what follows is kind of the meat of what we're going to talk about today, a review of current plans, features, and projects. Where things were particularly sort of speculative or sort of early in our conversations, I prefixed them with the word exploring. So there's none of that on this page, so it's a bad example. But I can talk through first the platform and commerce changes that are coming down the pipeline. So as a part of the program service, again, the program service is what lets you group together courses and identify sort of sets of courses. There's expanded support for multiple program types. So we launched that service with a generic program service that had type X series, which again is relevant for edX.org. So we've launched the second type. So when you create a program now, you can have you can see it drop down there based on type. And the idea with the program types is you might have different business logic that governs what kinds of course runs you want to include in a given program. So let's say you had a professional certificate courses or high school courses. You may want to create a program that only lets you select high school courses for that program versus a different program type for all your professional education courses. So that's kind of what that support expansion does. We're working on payment processor, payment provider integration points. So specifically, edX.org is moving off of its payment provider and moving to a sort of a different one. We're specifically moving towards Adyen, but there's generic support for an easier way to switch is part of what we're building into the platform. This will allow us specifically on the Adyen front, I guess, to do more global payment processing specifically. Additionally, some improvements to our SAML SSO integration. The inclusion of order history for students. We previously had ordering history for the old, now deprecated shopping cart. You would see your order history on the course dashboard. We've added order history for all orders processed by Auto, the commerce system, into your account settings area. So you can see that there. And then we added a program details page. So in Eucalyptus, we added a tab that lets you see all the programs that you're actively enrolled in at least one course in. So that program page now lets you see enrollment details, lets you directly enroll or upgrade in a case where you have a course mode that has an upgrade. And we'll be adding more progress and sort of details to that page. You can also access your program credential or program certificate from that view as well. So that's the high-level overview for platform and commerce changes. Just looking back through the list. So does the auto e-commerce plug into the program types so you can purchase a program, multiple courses the way you can purchase a single course. So bulk purchase is on the sort of longer-term roadmap. We've not yet prioritized it, and it's actually something that I'd originally put into this Ficus list, but I have medium to low confidence that it would make it in, so I actually pulled it off this list. But it is something that we've talked about getting to the point where you could both bulk enroll in a program, but also allow coupon codes to operate at that level. So you could pay for an individual course, or you could pay for the entire program and get a 10% or 20% discount, for example. So a lot of improvements need to be made to both the auto commerce system to be able to track orders for programs, and in particular, a lot of the complexity around refunds is what kind of has made that a much larger project. So that's why we haven't rushed to add that support, but we do see it as something we would be able to support in the future. Great. So next, changes to the teaching and learning side of things. So currently, the LMS navigation experience shows you course content, and on the left sidebar, it shows you a summary of the outline of the course, so the section and subsection. We're moving to a separate course outline page that's full width. That's kind of the top-level page that you'd see when you go to the course tab. And once you go into the course content, so let's say once you're looking at a video or once you're looking at a problem, the idea is that that's now a full-width view. To steal, I think, Piotr's term from 4 years ago, expanding the learning whole. There's a little area where you experience course content currently on the platform. We're making that much larger, letting you kind of immerse yourself in that content a little bit more directly. Next up, so navigation improvements to the discussion forum. So we actually just landed this change this week on edX.org if you want to take a look. But it's just some changes to actually make clear what the hierarchy is of the topics that you're looking at, having students first see the list of topics before they actually see all the posts so that they understand that there is a hierarchy there. A lot more we want to do here, but this is sort of a first step. That's it for the discussion forums. Assignment due dates based on learner time zone. So there's an additional account settings field that lets you specify your preferred or your time zone. And what that will do is if you've specified a time zone, it will override the UTC dates to actually be in your time zone. So that's work that we've actually landed post the release of Eucalyptus, but it'll be in Ficus for sure. The next two things relate to grading. So the way grading has been handled in the past is that it's sort of computed on the fly, and when you go to the progress page, we compute your grade. So a bunch of performance improvements have gone in using our XBlock transformers infrastructure to let you store and persist grades. We've landed persistence at the subsection level. We're working on persistence at the course level. This will enable us to use grading information more pervasively across the platform, for example, in insights or in other reports. But a bunch of performance improvements there. I think it's a 10x improvement with the work that Dave has landed or about to land. So grading persistence I already mentioned at the course and assignment level. We're kicking off discovery work around the notification service. So we've done, in the past, architectural review for notification service, and we previously delivered that for Open edX, but we haven't actually used it at scale. And so we're working to make this actually work for the edX.org use case, but also sort of just building in a lot of the things that we shortcut in the first version of that. Next, so individual learner grade overrides and deadline extensions. So this is in particular to help support smaller courses, credit courses, other edge cases where students have issues that residential course settings can handle, and we don't have native support for. So we're adding in those kind of individual overrides using a bunch of the infrastructure, I believe, built in to the IDDE framework that I believe Peter worked on, Peter Pinch, who's on the call. So that's another big feature note. And then the next two things I've specifically tagged with exploring, visual in-context course progress to help learners see what they've done, what they've completed, what they've not completed, help them navigate through the course based on sort of what they've done. And then we're also looking into quicker course authoring basics, so going back to fundamentals, and supporting things like copy and move of sections and subsections, sourcing from libraries, a bunch of other sort of content reuse elements, simplifying the way you alter display names to make that easier. So a bunch of sort of quick basics for studio authoring. Great, so looking back at the list, so Nate's question, how does that differ from IDDE? It is based on the same sort of infrastructure. It's essentially just exposing some UI to actually let you more directly or more easily alter assignments per learner, due dates per learner. Are there plans to restrict access to another section based on assessment performance and one of them work? So there is no direct plans for, Zach, what you described, which is restricting access to another section based on that performance. There is an open source pull request that you can check out today on expanded support in Studio for the conditional UI block that has not entered engineering review, but that is something that would let you gate certain content on the basis of whether people have answered or attempted other parts of the other questions. So you can specifically reference multiple other components. I don't think that quite gets you where you want, but I think it is good to have that finally supported directly in Studio. And let's see, we had an instruction, Nate, how does it, improving content libraries, you can embed content directly from library, not just random content. So Nate, I think if you mean, when I specifically mentioned source from in the quicker course authoring basics, that is what I'm referring to. So you can imagine, we already have a randomized content block that pulls in blocks randomly. It would be great to be able to specifically pull in a specific problem from a library into a course, retaining the ability to update that problem if the library is updated, but specifically pulling in just one exact problem. That is what we're referring to there. Are we on time? Are we okay on time?
Yeah, we're not going to get kicked out of here. I got for an extra half hour, so we can go as long as you can.
Great. So next up for Ficus on mobile. So we're looking at improvements to the video experience. There we go. Oh, there's a little bit of lag. There we go. So the mobile application, the 1.0 version of the mobile application was primarily a video companion app. Most of the effort we've spent on 2.0 has been on bringing in other parts of the courseware, the discussion forums, the announcements into the mobile application. We'd like to look back at improvements we can now make to the video experience. That includes things like having playback speed on Android like we have on iOS, so you can alter the play speed of the videos. It includes HLS streaming I listed as well, specifically at the bottom, so that the quality of the video can adjust based on the bandwidth or network quality that the user is on. Expanded support for video quality settings, so you can either rely on HLS, which will sort of adjust for you, or you can stipulate that you'd like low quality, for example, if you want to be sensitive to your data requirements or data limits. We've also talked about the ability to download only audio file versions instead of videos, so you can download smaller files and potentially kind of listen to it in kind of podcast mode where you just autoplay videos and keep continuing to listen to those audio files as well, or the audio files only, sorry. Discussion forum profile images, so showing your profile image on the discussion forum for iOS and Android. We've been making changes behind the scenes to the API, discussion forum API, to make that performant. And the mobile app will likely get that before the web, but the work that this team is doing is going to help let us get it onto the web eventually as well. And so that's the summary for mobile. We take a look back through this list. It plans to integrate storyline, captivate authored content such as SCORM.
Nate's got a link to his
great.
blog.
Yep.
Awesome. Test drive service.
Is duplication of sections and subsections in that pile of authoring additions anywhere? That is absolutely. It's at the tippity top of that list. So it's a very frequent one, tippity top. Move and bulk duplicate or copy is absolutely in there. Specifically storyline, captivate, SCORM, XBlock support, as Nate mentioned, through that XBlock. Taking a look at edX flow control block to tackle your need. Actually, so the flow control block is very similar to the UI support for the conditional block, and I believe, I forget who from edX is actually tagged on that PR already. So they're familiar with that feature, and we do see a lot of the flow control XBlock UI improvements being helpful to incorporate into the conditional block for sure. There's definitely some sort of like parallel path development going on there. So we'd love to get those all merged into a single kind of experience for sure. Great. So I think that's all I had. If there are more general questions about the roadmap, I'm happy to answer those as well. We've been sort of having people comment or ask questions based on what I've said. But if there are other questions or comments or things, I'm happy to answer that. But that's all we've got.
So we've got 10 more minutes if there are questions.
Great.
My mic is muted, I'm assuming you can hear me talk.
Yes, so far. Yeah. There's also some people have used this already, but at least Shelby and I on the TNL side have been active in the product Slack room, sometimes delayed by 24 or 48 hours. But we do try and get back to everyone there if you have questions as well.
We'll give another minute or two for questions to come up. You can also ask questions of me or Ned or George, or I guess, well, George can respond on Slack. But
George is here.
Yeah.
He's in the presenter.
Oh, excellent. So George could actually respond with his voice.
Are you going to deprecate any features? Braden. So good question. We've talked a lot about making sure we fully deprecate features instead of half deprecating features, which has been something we've done in the past. So I don't have anything that bubbles up to the top in my mind. If there's anything that you're in particular eager to see deprecated, please let us know.
What's the story with programs?
So programs is now supported via a separate IDA, and so we're planning to expand support for programs. Within those new services, actually, it's possible that the Django app for the certificates might get deprecated in the future for the credentials IDA. That's the clearest deprecation path I see.
Mm-hmm. Well, you meant programs as in the feature. I was thinking of programs as in the code. So the program's code is being replaced with...
Oh, sorry. Yes. So
okay.
I see what you mean. So I forgot to mention that actually entirely. So programs is an IDA that was split out to support the sequences of courses. And one of the things that's come out of the conversations for the course catalog service is that there's a good deal of overlap between what the programs IDA is doing and the catalog service is doing.
Right.
So there are plans to migrate the programs information into the course catalog, so it's one single kind of understanding of what the catalog is. I'm not clear what the deprecation path is for that other IDA, but I do know that there isn't a plan to immediately deprecate that. People have started moving stuff into that.
Right.
So I believe it's kind of a parallel path for a while.
Okay.
And I can follow up with more details there. I'm actually not fully up to speed on that plan. How do you guys want feedback on Eucalyptus?
Ed.
You can comment on the announcement in the mailing list, or any other way. We'd love to hear feedback about it. Eucalyptus, I didn't mention this. Eucalyptus does have a new install script that bundles up some of the commands you used to have to type. So, for instance, to install DevStack or FullStack, you no longer type Vagrant up or download a Vagrant file. You download the install script, and it downloads the Vagrant file and does the Vagrant up for you. And the reason for that was so that we could automatically log everything that happened, so that everyone who uses install stack.shell, the install script, is going to have a log of what happened. You don't have to think about it ahead of time and decide to save all that stuff.
See, other things. So, question from Pierre. If you're currently delivering PDF certificates, we haven't changed the way we've handled that, so those repositories would still work. It's really just additional web certificates and this new credential service exist. So no current migration plan or deprecation plan yet for that.
Peter, are you saying that you have failing installs? The direct answer to your actual question is whatever support channel you want to use most is fine with me. We don't have Answer Hub yet, so put it on the mailing list or send me an email or something, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Looks like they do have a failing install.
They do have a failing install. Does that mean we're not releasing Eucalyptus today?
It's possible.
Before it scrolls up, there's what's the status of a Docker-powered dev stack?
That's a good question. So Nate cleverly tagged Kale on that, and Kale joined, but has not said. So Kale is working on a plan to have a new style of developer installation, which would be based on Docker. And he is in the best position to answer, so we'll let him do that in the channel. I don't know if he's listening and heard me say that. So.
In response to Dave, I don't believe there's any plan for at least internal edX.org or edX development of that kind of XBlock right now. There may be plans in the community. It's probably worth checking on the mailing list or somewhere else to see if anyone else is interested, but I'm not aware of one.
Apparently Kale is not in today, and Slack just joined for him.
Slack auto-joined him. I see. That's very deceptive.
Also good to, this scrolled past, but good to hear that even at 8 p.m. this was well worth it.
Yes.
Right, so I guess send an email to Kale or to the mailing list addressing Kale, and we should, just in case he doesn't see it via Slack, we should be able to get you an answer relatively soon,
right.
But maybe not today. Great. Any other questions? You're, by the way, welcome to stay in this particular channel for a little while, although probably not indefinitely, to keep asking questions, and we can keep our eye on the Slack channel as well. We just want to make sure we address any other questions that might go in the broadcast recording. I see a couple of people are typing, so.
The anticipation.
Part release.
So Zachary, yes, the install docs for Eucalyptus are in the install configuring and running an OpenEdX installation guide on docs.edx.org. Stuart, I have to look at the theming variables pull requests. I saw that you made those. Keep in mind, once we have Eucalyptus 0.1, there will be a Eucalyptus 0.2. It's just a matter of how long it takes us to get a critical mass of stuff to put into it.
Will there be a page with a changelog for point releases of Eucalyptus 0.2, 0.3, etc.?
So we have done that in the past, I believe, for Dogwood, for the subsequent releases. Typically, they do not have much different in them. We tend to keep the point releases to severe problems, security or data loss issues, or installation fixes.
So are there any docs yet on specific authoring improvements that are incoming? It's a good question. So we've been making progress internally on having consistent and repeated project page templates so that all the projects we're working on can be sort of tracked and seen more visibly. We're not really all the way there yet, but if you do have a Confluence account, which I think people can create, there is a page that I can link to here that is kind of what we've been using internally for a roadmap page for mobile and teaching and learning.
I'm going to copy and paste this.
Sure, that works great. So that links to sort of projects that both are active as well as projects that are in review. And so one of the projects listed on the teaching and learning roadmap page, which we can also paste in, is quicker course authoring basics. That's why I actually used that term in the slideshow, just because I sort of was top of mind. And so you can go to that page and add comments, add suggestions, add other details as you see fit. And again, we're still kind of piloting this and really still trying to figure out how we want this to really work. This is just for those of you that really want to dive into the details and see what's going on. You can actually do that and comment on those pages. So, and this is definitely not a complete picture. This doesn't cover all sub-teams. We don't have a similar thing for commerce or other groups, but we're working internally on how to get to that.
All right. Again, feel free to continue to ask questions in the Slack channel or back in the general Slack channel. But I think we are done with the broadcast. And I will be posting a link to, I think that the link that you're currently able to watch on YouTube becomes the link at which you can watch the recorded version. But just in case it's not, I'll also post it the Slack channel. And I will update the description to include a link to the slides. Oh, that's a good question from Nate. Any plans to update the roadmap on open.edx.org? So that's the Open edX portal. I guess I should go in front of the thing. We want to update the portal. We recognize that it is not currently particularly helpful. It's not one of our highest priorities, but it's something we'd like to tackle within the next couple of months. So for now, I would say don't use that as your source of information. But what we'll likely do is edit the portal so that it points to the place that you should be looking for roadmap information. And then, so at least you won't see the deprecated version and get confused about what's the authoritative source. And we will try to provide this authoritative source for you. But for now, it might be mostly on the Confluence wiki. All right.
Sorry, the one thing I'll mention is part of the reason we've actually started building it at all via the Confluence sort of wiki is to help make it easier for the product team to update that roadmap on OpenEdX and support that, because we know that it's bad that it's fallen out of date so much. So yeah. That is part of the reason why this effort is in progress. The reason it's not done is that it's not yet on open.edx.org. So we do see that as, in part, the definition of done for us there.
Right. Okay, great. So thank you all for joining us. We will see you again in a month on the remote meetup, and before then, hopefully, via Slack, mailing lists, Answer Hub, hopefully, and various other channels. So yeah, right, bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.